Ever since a baby, I've been trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blonde little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box, but I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars, we're a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know what your bras, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the Rand do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, now taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, that's Maddie, and it's championship weekend already.
Sorry, Jay. Were you just muted? I wonder.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. Good start. Going through some tech stuff.
All right. Well. Did you say something?
I can't hear you at all. Okay. Anyone in the comments able to hear Jay, or is it just me? Okay. Here we go. Yeah, Jay's going out, coming back in again. Mr. Peabody is unfortunately not on screen. This is a hitman saying about me being able to, I don't know, like talk to be some sort of savant. Oh, you could hear both of us. You just couldn't hear me. Oh, okay. That's a worry. So we'll wait for Jay to come back in, and then we'll see if that fixes the problem. Then we'll move on. So he'll come back in a sec. Here he is. He's coming back on now.
Only if you can hear me.
I still can't hear you, so it must be on my end with the thing.
Hold on. I can check.
With the thing. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. They can hear me, Mr. Peabody.
I've got you.
No, you don't. No, did he?
I mean, I can hear you. I don't know what's just happened there. The whole theme tune and everything was fine, going through my earphones and everything, and then not going well on the other side. But hello, everybody. Sorry for that weird start to the show.
Why do I feel like those are not iPhone, or they're not made by Apple?
Yeah, but that was my laptop, so that should be fine. My laptop's good Chinese Huawei gear.
It's kind of like when you use an Android and your shit goes sideways. That's on you for using an Android.
I had no idea what just happened there. That is so strange. But hello, everybody. Good to see you all. And it is NFL Championship weekend, NFL Championship Sunday. 2 games to go before the Super Bowl. 3 games to go before we finish the season. Jay, are you looking forward to these games ahead?
Yeah, I'm sad that the season's almost over, though. That's sad. But I do think we should be in line for 2 amazing games today.
Yeah, I think they're really great setup games. I'm surprised by the point spread in the Commanders Eagles, like not to throw any not to give away anything for later in the show, but we will be doing our best bets. And I was surprised by the size of the point spreads there, and yet is unfortunately 2 NFC East teams in the NFC Championship game, and the Cowboys are not one of them, which is a shame. But Jay, I thought what we could do before we go into the championship games and reacting to last week's playoff games and previewing this week's games is there's been a lot of coaching hires in the NFL. Let's just quickly run through those coaching hires and just give our opinions on them. And Jay, I thought we could start with the Cowboys. Have the Cowboys made a big mistake by hiring Brian Schottenheimer?
All right, I gotta go get my notes on this one, but everybody, sorry if I'm in and out because I have seasonal allergies right now in the winter, and nobody wants to watch me blow my nose. That's all I know. All right. Brian Schottenheimer, who Maddie absolutely fucking hates. Let's put this on the thing. Maddie says to me at the Cowboys, where I said good hire, good offensive coach for decades. Maddie says at the Cowboys, where he didn't even call the plays, and at Seattle, where he was terrible, ? So I replied 3 days ago. Maddie decided to ignore me. I said he helped turn around St. Louis and created the greatest show on turf. He kept the Chiefs relevant before Andy Reid. He helped Syracuse get to a bowl game in the first time in forever. In 2000, 2001, and 2, the Commanders were literally had the worst fucking quarterbacks in the NFL, and he kept them 500 as a coordinator. He was offensive coordinator to Rex Ryan, who went to the AFC Championship twice. He was great at Georgia. Andrew Luck loved him as his quarterback coach, and he had never won less than 10 games with Seattle. But yes, other than that, complete ass as a coach. No, I think Brian Schottenheimer was in line for a head coaching job back in the day. I know he was, and the Jets backed up a boatload of money to him and said, "Stay our coordinator." And I think he blew his shot. And it's kind of like what we were talking about Ben Johnson. You fuck around in another coaching cycle, you could lose it. Now I honestly get where your Cowboys fans are upset. You're not excited. You're not like, we didn't do shit. But I think like Steady Eddie is what I'm going to call Brian Schottenheimer, because that's what he's been his whole career. I think Steady Eddie is what the Cowboys need.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not necessarily Brian Schottenheimer himself, right? Also,
I know I got that, but I have to
another good point. Like the actual coaching history of Brian Schottenheimer is not my problem with Brian Schottenheimer necessarily. Like Brian Schottenheimer, he also, another good point on Brian Schottenheimer, he keeps the consistency in the offense for when Dak Prescott comes back. Like the offense, not massively a problem for this Cowboys team. Like when Dak Prescott comes back into the team, like there's a bit of consistency there. My problem with it is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. This feels exactly the same hire to me. Like this is a very similar hire to Mike McCarthy, apart from Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. It's the same. Who can Jerry Jones control? It's the same. Like Brian Schottenheimer was on nobody's interview list. Brian Schottenheimer had 0 interviews for any other organization, no other franchises in the NFL apart from the fucking Dallas Cowboys, because they just went, who can we control? Instead of saying who would be the best coach for the job. Now, when you do look for the other coaches that are actually available out there, then all right, there's not actually, when you look at the coaching, it's like, did I want Pete Carroll? No, not really. Like the guys who I'm talking about, you have to go get out of an organization. Like you have to go and get them out of the organization. And for me, it amazes me how often Jerry Jones will fuck around with the cap, which is limited, but won't bring out the shit tons of money for stuff that isn't limited, like stuff that the Cowboys should have a benefit for.
Well,
and then the final point on this is, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I cut you off, but I was going to say, when you pay $1 million a month to upkeep your yacht, you might not have much left over.
Jerry Jones has enough left over. He's a senile old fool.
I was being a smart ass, but I was just, Maddie, I got to ask, because you said this, but first you just hit a pet peeve of mine. It's not your fault. Mm-hmm. That definition of insanity that's only in fucking addiction, guys, that kills me. Look it up. It is not, no, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
What is the hate with Pete Carroll, though? Like, I think Pete Carroll would have been perfect for the Cowboys. And I know you hated to hear this, but I thought Dougie P would have been great. Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Only because he doesn't have to build the culture. Like, he doesn't have to come in and change the quarterback. He's just got to come in and do what he did with the Eagles, call plays, set up an offense, get it going, So I thought he'd been good because you have a lot of vet players on that team. So I thought with all the vets, you could bring in a guy who doesn't have to build. He can just put his stamp on what you already have.
Yeah, for me, all of those names that we go through, you may as well have just kept Mike McCarthy there. Because they're all the same. That's all the same profile. Like, if you're not going to get, if the disagreement with Mike McCarthy was an extra year of security, which give him the extra year of security and pay out his contract of his shit anyway, because we've got the money. Like the Cowboys have got, Jerry Jones has the money to pay to get rid of Mike McCarthy if he doesn't want him. So for the coaching hires that were available, they were all, for me, just worse versions of Mike McCarthy. I don't even like Mike McCarthy that much.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it is weird. Mark Davis, cheapest owner in the NFL, paying 3 coaches right now. He's paying 2 head coaches to sit at home and just hired a new Pete Carroll, right? So he's the cheapest because he's the only one that's not a billionaire. He's the cheapest. And then he's still paying 2 coaches to sit at home. So yes, you're right. This whole thing with Jerry is weird. But did we expect, and I know as a Cowboys fan, it hurts you more, but did we expect anything else from Jerry? Did we?
So, I kept on hearing this thing of like, the Cowboys, we know they're going to make a big splash at quarterback, coach. We know they're going to make a big splash. They're going to pay loads of money to whoever the best coaching guy available is. And it's like, Jerry Jones hasn't done that since they had Jimmy Johnson in like 1990. Like,
and then he hated Jimmy for it.
And he hated Jimmy. He hated Jimmy when he was there. Like, Jerry Jones hasn't made that move since I've been alive. My parents weren't married the last time Jerry Jones did that. So in my opinion, that I have no aspect of understanding why anybody thought Jerry Jones would ever do that. Like, I really, really didn't understand that. Like, I knew that this was going to be a hire, and I was still pissed off by it.
What year did he fire Jimmy? 96?
Yeah, 96.
Yeah, I was 18 and I'm 46. So cheers to Jerry. So
yeah, I was born in 1997. Like, that's when he fired Jimmy Johnson. Like, it's just broken to me that anybody thinks that Jerry Jones is not this cheap owner. Like, Jerry Jones runs. It's like when Americans complain about the price of eggs in the grocery store and they blame the president. They don't blame the company that's selling the eggs at an inflated price.
Like,
that's what Jerry Jones is.
Don't get me started on $5 fucking dozens of eggs. Okay. Like, don't get, during COVID, I was paying 69 cents a dozen. No lie. In 2020, I am literally paying $5, but don't get me started.
Greedflation, not
right,
inflation.
No, it is. I get I get what you're saying. My question for you is, though, and it's 2-part. As the Cowboys fan, would you have been okay with Prime, Dion, and who would have been your guy you would have wanted them to go after?
So if it was me, if you're getting rid of Mike McCarthy, then that would suggest doing something different to what you would get with Mike McCarthy. So I would go for Prime. I wouldn't have enjoyed. I think Prime would have been fun, and it might have given like a lightning bolt to the Cowboys. But I don't think it's the win the Super Bowl. But it is a nice different option. Like, at least it's a different option for something that hasn't worked. And if it doesn't work, we move on in 3 years. Bobby Slowick, like, I would have said, like, the Texans have got rid of Bobby Slowick. Why not give him a try? Like, why not try this young offensive coordinator mind, like this Sean McVay tree offensive coordinator, and just see what comes out. And if you're as rich as Jerry Jones is, you can get rid of this guy after a year, 2 years, like, and pay him the buyout clause of whatever his fucking contract is, and you can move on. But if you're getting rid of Mike McCarthy, you do that to go for something different. And they just didn't go for something different. That's my problem with Brian Schottenheimer, because it is really difficult to project how coaches are going to do at a football team. So I'm not going to say now that the Cowboys are going to be 3 and whatever and a terrible football team because Brian Schottenheimer's there. It's just the process seems wrong. Like, that's where we're at with that.
For me, more importantly than your head coach right now is who ends up being your defensive coordinator. I think your offense will figure out how to get, as long as you put some weapons with Dak, they'll figure it out. I just thought it was the most Jerry Jones shit ever. And I'm not gonna lie, I just like pictured you slowly melting away like the Wizard of Oz fucking witch.
The
Like
Wicked
I'm
Witch of the
melting
West.
as they where I'm melting as fucking Jerry. And you got it double because like Brian Schottenheimer was like the house to land on you too.
Yeah, I was like, fucking the guy that was already in the building. What is that? Defensive coordinator should be Al Harris. Like they should give that guy the key and just see what happens. That would be okay, we're trying something different there rather than going for the next guy. Jay, we've already mentioned him once, but Pete Carroll has returned to the NFL. Is Las Vegas, the Raiders, the perfect spot for him?
Yeah, it is an amazing hire, and you're going to see either Sam Darnold or Russell Wilson as their bridge quarterback. They're going to go find themselves a quarterback, which we'll get into this later on, but as I'm going through the quarterbacks, I know everybody's like, not a lot of great talent in this year's draft. No, there's not a lot of first-round talent. There is so much developmental talent in this draft that actually could become something. Like, can we stop acting like Will Howard has no chance to play in the NFL? Because he does. I mean, I've watched him through the playoffs in the national champion. He just needs to sit and learn some shit. So there is some guys you could probably get in this draft. This is probably more of a developmental draft where we might actually see some guys turn into something. But I think Pete Carroll's energy, I think what Pete Carroll brings as a human being, and it's no shot at like saying Antonio Pierce wasn't a good person or whatever, but what he brings as a human being to that, I think Pete Carroll's exactly what they need. And the way it sounds is that the Steelers are going to move on from Russ. Doesn't that almost make a perfect marriage right there?
Yeah, I mean, if you preach forgiveness, then yes. Like if you preach forgiveness in a marriage, then yes.
Be forgiven.
Well, Russell Wilson did abandon the Pete Carroll in the Seahawks for his last few years there, but the Seahawks got great draft picks out of it. Actually looked like a really great move from the Seahawks at the time.
And but I think that was more of the Seahawks moving on from Russ. I really do. But
maybe.
I guess that's how you look at it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I love the Pete Carroll hire as well. I think it sounds like a lot of the noises coming out of Vegas sounds like they're going to start getting out of the way. Like they've looked at what happened to the Commanders and it's like, we need to just get out of the way. Like the ownership just needs to move out of the way. Yeah, Tom Brady's come in, is running it from there, and they're going to like get out of the way from there. Pete Carroll matched up with the black hole in Vegas, like is a perfect marriage. Like same as the Seahawks with the 12th man, like all of that kind of stuff, like perfect marriage. And with the way that Pete Carroll plays the game, they don't need to fix their quarterback situation right now. Like they just need to get a semi-decent quarterback. Like Pete Carroll, they're going to run the ball, and we're going back to a run the ball league. Like look at the guys in the NFC Championship game now, all solid, very very solid running games, solid defenses. So yeah, I love that. I love that hire. I'm very happy to see Pete Carroll back in the league as well. I think that's a great hire. Jay, we're going to move on to your in-division rivals in the Chicago Bears now, but are the media taking it a bit far by anointing Ben Johnson as going to be the biggest success for the Chicago Bears?
Yes, but we don't know what he's going to be. But I messaged you after watching his interview. I watched him on Dan Patrick. I watched him address the Chicago media, and I watched him one other one. He is the most bland human being I have ever watched on TV, and he better hire some fiery coaches because, like I told you, he is a genius when it comes to the X's and O's. I'm not sure he's a leader of men. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying there's some shit we're going to learn about Ben Johnson. And it's funny because I was thinking about this because I'm just as guilty. We're all like, everybody's got to hire Ben Johnson. And then after I watched the interviews, I'm like, none of us know if he can lead men. None of us know if he can be the head coach because you didn't have to be the raw lead men guy on Detroit. Like Dan Campbell got that covered. So I'm less worried about Aaron Glenn in that kind of role than I am Ben Johnson.
Oh, shit.
What, you don't hear me again?
No, I can hear you. I was just looking at the Chicago Bears and then building up their coaching staff. And you'll never guess who is joining the Chicago Bears on their defensive coaching staff.
Did they hire the Vikings assistant coach? Because that's what they were going for.
They've hired Al Harris. Okay.
Oh. Well,
So-
that's a good move.
Yeah, that is a good move from them. What's he?
I met him a couple times. Nice
He's
guy.
their defensive. He's going to be their defensive passing game coordinator and their defensive backs coach, which is a great move for them. Congratulations, Chicago. But anyway, yeah. So I agree with you. I think he's the kind of guy that needs to have the perfect staff built around him. Now, when we were messaging, I kind of compared him to KOC. I think that like Kevin O'Connell can lead men. Like Ben Johnson, I'm not sure can lead men. And Ben Johnson has grown up now in a system of take the risk. Dan Campbell will eat the shit. Like it's so in the playoff game where he gets Jameson Wilson to throw the ball and it turns out in a turnover. It's like, oh, why? Like, why are we doing that? And Dan Campbell's the guy who's
too, though.
Yeah, 100%. We'll definitely get onto that when we start previewing the games.
Okay.
But Dan Campbell is the guy who comes out and eat the shit. In Chicago, you're the guy who's going to eat the shit on this. Like, if you're going to continue to play this style of football in a very tough media city as well, are you going to be able to ride that out and continue to go with your philosophy? And we'll see what he can do. I'm not anointing him a home run hit for the Bears. I think the Bears would have been better off with Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll. Like, I'm surprised they haven't gone for that kind of guy.
I think it was Jordan Palmer, but it could have been somebody else. I was watching, and they made a good point. Can Ben Johnson come in there and get the best out of Caleb Williams? And they're like, we don't know what the best is. Nobody's ever really taught Caleb Williams how to play in a system. Never in his life has he really had to truly play in a system. And we don't even know if he can.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson has just come from like system quarterback isn't a criticism. He's just come
Jared
from
Goff is perfect for what he does.
The ultimate system quarterback. Like started the league under Sean McVay and now has moved to Ben Johnson at Detroit. Like Jared Goff, now he had a terrible game like last week, but he's moved from that guy. Now he's coming to Caleb Williams. Can that work for him? Jay, New England kind of played a joke with the Rooney Rule and the whole thing of hiring the whole hiring system of the NFL, but they took on Mike Vrabel. And do you think that is the best fit for New England, Mike Vrabel?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think him bringing in Josh McDaniels is great too. My question comes, and it's not, and this isn't a suggestion or an opinion. It's like I'm asking everybody. Is the Rooney Rule doing what it set out to do? And is it still necessary? And also, are we at a place now where it's still necessary? And also, if they already knew who they were going to hire, isn't almost the system creating the joke of making these people come in and do the interviews than it was? I don't know, because we all knew who was going to be the coach. And that's where I don't know where to stand on this. I'm not the guy to make this decision, right? Like, I've never been discriminated against because of my skin color, and I've never had that happen. So, and yes, there's absolutely needs to be equality. And I don't know if the Patriots are the best example because, again, they knew who they were hiring before. So it makes it weird. And I don't know where we go forward with the Rooney Rule, because even though the Patriots did it blatantly, I still think there's a lot of teams who do the same thing. They just don't do it in one day and hire the coach the next day, right? So blatantly. But I'm not going to lie. I think Brian Flores interviews, a lot of them were to fulfill the Rooney Rule and to soften up the lawsuit. Like, hey, we interviewed him. He just wasn't the guy we wanted. That kind of thing.
I think it's pretty impressive and shows, again, a joke of the Rooney Rule where if Brian Flores comes in, he hasn't got a job. Like, if Brian Flores comes in and interviews for you, I think it's impressive that it's an obvious show that Aaron Glenn has a job and Brian Flores doesn't. Like that's the way that I look at it. With the Rooney Rule in the wake of like a lot of DEI rollback, like a lot of rollback on things like DEI now in the new American government, and we're having the same over here in the UK where it's DEI. We don't really like, obviously race is an issue in the UK. It's more class in the UK. That's our issue. But anyway, but a rollback on DEI. I could see the NFL kind of like looking to rewrite the Rooney Rule. For me, the Rooney Rule doesn't really make sense in the way it works right now, where it's like, oh, you just have to hire, like you just have to interview an NFL coach from a minority background. Like, I think it's due a rewrite in the new. We still don't have like a representative amount of head coaches who are black compared to the amount of players who are black in the NFL. Like, that isn't representative fairly across the mark. However, there are plenty of coaches at lower levels now that are black. So there is the progression there now. So I think a rewriting of the Rooney Rule is in order. And I don't think, like, I've just seen it on a few media outlets, I don't think you can blame the New England Patriots for the Rooney Rule. Like, they just had a black head coach who came from inside the building and they brought up as well. And no one can say that Joe Mayo did a fucking amazing job and deserved to keep his job when Vrabel is there, because Vrabel is the perfect pick for the New England Patriots. Just different enough from the Belichick era, from the Patriot way. And just different enough.
And people think he's a Belichick coaching tree, but he's not.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just different enough, but just connected to the old Patriot way where it makes sense. And then you bring in Josh McDaniels, who I think is a hark back to the Patriot way too much for me, but consistency in the building, I think, is a big part of what the Patriots want to do.
I don't think Josh McDaniels will have much to do with the culture, though, either. And I think he was always been really good with quarterbacks, coming up with a system. He's always been a great offensive coach. He's just never been a great head coach. I don't know. I think it's lining up for Drake May to have. They're going to give Drake May every chance to be great.
Yeah, definitely. And I think where's the biggest rebuild?
Tyreek. I keep seeing they might be trading for Tyreek. So
yeah, they have the cap space to do it. And then where's the biggest rebuild required on the Patriots? Offensive line. What did the Titans have a lot of the time under Vrabel? A good offensive line. So, like, that's literally with Derrick Henry back there that led them to the first seed.
It makes sense on a guy who played linebacker and D end to understand the importance of an offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see them going rebuild the O-line first and then work out from there. Vrabel, I think, is a great hire there. I think he might be the best hire. Jay, I've been seeing this get a lot of love, but I'm not 100% sure on it myself. Aaron Glenn going to the New York Jets. Can Aaron Glenn deal with the dysfunctional New York Jets?
I think he can. I think he's the right guy for the job. I don't know if anybody will ever, with Woody Johnson meddling. If the shit we hear where Woody Johnson's like emailing Madden ratings to his fucking GM, seriously, we got problems if his kids are like, look, Dad, his Madden rating's not good enough. And then he's emailing this to his GM and being like, you can't trade for Jerry Jeudy because his that's ridiculous. But I think Aaron Glenn's fiery. He was a Jet. I think, that helps. First round pick, 12th overall under the great Pete Carroll. I think he'll turn that defense around for sure. And I keep hearing Florio's dumbass going, well, this just proves they're going to move on from Rodgers. And I'm like, does it? No. Aaron Glenn needs a quarterback. Just did it with an aging Jared Goff, like a veteran Jared Goff there. I'm not sure that that's what that means. I almost think it means more that there's a better chance that Rodgers is back. But I think they have a ton of talent. They just don't have a quarterback, and they have no leadership, it feels like. So if they can get some leadership in a quarterback, the sky's the limit for the Jets, right?
Yeah, I do agree. I'm just wondering if you're going defensive coordinator, was Aaron Glenn the best defensive coordinator out there to take for the role? Like, maybe I'm surprised.
He was a Jet, so I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, it does make a difference. I don't think it 100% should make a difference, but it does make a difference. It's just, you've gone defensive coordinator. the Lions, he didn't make like an amazing defense his entire time there. Now they did spend a lot of capital on their offense through the draft systems and kind of things.
They were pretty good at the beginning of the year before everybody got injured.
Before all the injuries, they were good, but he has to build this. However, he doesn't have to build this Jets defense. Like, this Jets defense should be good. Like, on paper, it should be good. When Robert Saleh was there, it was good. Like, the Jets made a mistake moving off Saleh because his side of the ball was fine. Like, you may as well have just kept him out for the season, kept him for the whole season. At least the defense would have been fine. Like, you just messed it up. I can't believe that Jeff Ulbrich has gone to the Falcons, by the way, as the defensive coordinator. Now, that seems insane. Now, that's a terrible hire for the Falcons.
I agree.
Like with the Jets have a ridiculous amount of talent, and Jeff Ulbrich was awful. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I just think with a defensive coordinator, maybe not. I do, however, agree with you that it does mean that Aaron Rodgers is more likely to stay. I think if there's a defensive coordinator, because Aaron Glenn getting in there, the Jets have a lot to fix. He'll just want to make sure his side of the ball is right. So therefore, what's the point of trying to go get any other QB?
And if you're going to take Aaron Rodgers back, this is the only thing I say, right? You go sit down with him, and I'm guessing Rodgers will have respect for Aaron Glenn because he's been a player. You know what I mean? Yeah, Rodgers respects it. And you just sit him down and like, bro, we want you back. We love you, but we need you to run our system. We can't run your system anymore. So if you want to come back, we want you back, but you have to agree that we're going to run whichever offensive coordinator they decide system, right? And that's where it is. Like, everybody keeps going, well, he's going to follow the Brett Favre trail and end up in Minnesota, right? Because J.J. McCarthy needs another year to learn. Even if that was true, you would have to sit Aaron Rodgers down and go, are you willing to play in Kevin O'Connell's system? Because we're not going to change shit for you. And you have to do the same thing as the Jets. You have to be like, we want you back. We think you're great. We love you. But you have to come back and embrace our system.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you look at that report, the same report that talks about Woody and being like interfering and those things about the Madden ratings and his 18-year-old kids being in the locker room, telling people that they're trash and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you then read the Rodgers parts of that report, and it talks about how Rodgers said for them to go interview loads of offensive coordinators. He didn't say to bring in Nathaniel Hackett. He didn't say bring in Hackett. He didn't say that. Like, the report that I was reading was Rodgers said, go pick the offensive coordinator who's right for you. So I think that report looked really good on Aaron Rodgers. When you look at that report, and if I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm calling Bobby Slowick like tomorrow and saying, I worked really well with Ben Johnson, same kind of like ideas around football as you. Why don't you come here, coach with Aaron Rodgers, like, and Aaron has said he'll play with you and he might add a little something to your system. Like, Aaron Rodgers can still be there to say, oh, what about this? Like, why don't we try this and stuff like that? Like, still do that. You're amazing. Like,
the coach and quarterback should always do that. Like, you hear great coaches, and I'm always going to use Kevin O'Connell because I watch the most and read the most about the Vikings, but he sits down with his quarterbacks and says, what plays do you like? What plays don't you? If his quarterback says, I don't like that play, he goes, we don't call it. It's gone. Like, it's gone. It doesn't even exist anymore if the quarterback doesn't like that play. So you have to be hand in hand with your quarterback. I get that. I just know that the media keeps saying that Rodgers wants to control everything. And, like, I don't have a problem. I think you should bring Rodgers back, but you got to let him know it's going to be a different offense, because you and I have been screaming from the rooftops, you can't play in the NFL if you don't have motion. Like, you can't do it anymore. It's not going to work. It may work a play or two, but it's not going to work for the whole game. And I never understood why Rodgers doesn't like motion, because it gives you the answers to the test before the test is even given. So it's weird to me. I don't know.
Well, it's because Rodgers' answer to the test is throw it to Devontae Adams currently. Like, at this stage of his career, his answer to all the questions.
But he's always been like that, right? So
yeah. Like, that's his current answer to the test. He's like, I'm so fucking talented, and Devontae Adams is so fucking talented that no matter what happens here, I'm going to throw the ball to Devontae Adams, right? Which they also need to stop doing, or they're going to lose Garrett Wilson, who's one of the best young wide receivers in the league as well. Like, and they need to hold on to that for contingency plans, and they need to keep Breece Hall. And I've seen a lot of stuff saying they need to either trade Breece Hall or trade Garrett Wilson, and it's like, that's just fucking insane.
I did start to think, is Breece Hall as good as we give him credit for?
Well, he did come off a really bad injury this season. I'm
not saying he's bad. I just wonder, is he as good as we give him credit for? That was the only question. I didn't have an answer. It was just the question.
Yeah. Be interesting to see going into next year, wouldn't it? Jay, Liam Coen has just moved across Florida.
This fucking guy. Hold on. This is Payne's team. To Payne, I won't do it to him, but I really wish I could just play the voice message he sent me by text because he was at work, so he just voiced it. Bro, like, put it this way, I think the last thing he said was kill that fucking guy. But and he's not even mad that he left. He's mad about the way it went down.
Yeah, run us through the way it went down, Jay.
This is all I understand. So Liam Coen, they were like, hey, we want to interview you for this Jags job. He's like, cool. The fucking Tampa Bay was like, we will give you 2.5 times your salary to not take the interview. And I guess he was like, didn't want to work with Trent Baalke anyway. So he's like, all right, deal. Then they fire Trent Baalke, and I guess he back channels him and like, hey, that job's still available. But here's the kicker. That's not the problem. Here's the problem with Bucs fans. This motherfucker was on a plane to go to Jacksonville and tells the team he's at the dentist. That's where the problem comes in. There's the problem right there. And then he
ghosts
them. And then the only time they hear from him after that is for him to go, hey, guys, I'm taking this job in Jacksonville. So like, it's the way he handled it. But Florio, who I don't usually agree with, said something that I'm like really with. Which one of us has not done something we regret? And which one of us has not handled leaving a job horribly because we didn't know how to do it? We didn't know how to tell our boss, or whatever. Or we were afraid to like leave that job before we had our next job, right? And I've taken interviews while I still worked for a company. I actually took a day off once to get paid to go to an interview to leave a company. So like, if we look at it that way, I don't see it as that it's the ghosting part and the lying, right? Like, and the ghosting isn't even as bad if you wouldn't have lied and said you were at the dentist. Like, if you had just ghosted until it was over, I could have got that. But the lying and saying you were at the dentist is what fucking makes me laugh.
Yeah. Do you think the aspect that it's also a Florida rival, like, also plays into it as well? Like, Tampa Bay and Jacksonville on a U.S. scale is like relatively close together.
Maybe, but I don't think I think for Tampa, they're probably that. Yes, they didn't want to lose him because they wouldn't have offered him that, but they're probably more pissed on how he handled this whole thing. Yeah,
definitely. On the basis of Liam Coen being hired for the Jacksonville Jaguars, though, great hire.
Yeah,
like brilliant hire. Clearly a brilliant hire. If Tampa went to such lengths to keep him there, like
Baker has got that dude so much money, he owes him the biggest fucking Christmas gift ever.
Yeah. Oh, David Canales and David Canales fixing Baker, and then Baker looking like he got fixed by Coen. Genius.
Hey, they did give him $12 million, which is another good reason to leave a job.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Coen here, like, Tampa ran an excellent offense throughout the year. I think it's a great move. I also think, like, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, your number one, what you have to do is almost save Trevor Lawrence's career right now, because Trevor Lawrence, we've said it throughout. Like, everybody says that Trevor Lawrence is just living off his college football. Like, they say, oh, he's living off his college football career. No, he's done enough in the NFL to show that's not him. But you need to start winning games now. He needs to be the reason they start winning games. Same with Justin Herbert as well, for the Chargers there. And I think Coen can come in and help him do that. So I think that's a really great hire for Jacksonville. I think it's really good. Also, very good intent from Jacksonville and a great move off from Dougie P. Jay, final question. It's something that baffled me when I saw it in the news, and I've already mentioned it quite a few times. Why did the Texans get rid of Bobby Slowick?
I have no idea. You can't blame him for this season, right? Like you can't. It's like you had too many injuries, and CJ Stroud had that emotional breakdown, which I think caused some problems moving forward the rest of the season too. I think there was some residual shit from that Tank Dell injury, and they still came out and played well in the playoffs. It's not like they embarrassed themselves. They won a game, and I don't get what the fuck. Weird.
Their entire interior offensive line got injured. Like, what the hell does an offensive coordinator do from that? Mike McDaniels got one quarterback injury and got a pretty decent quarterback back and couldn't call a fucking play. Bobby Slowick had to design an entire offense that got to a playoff game, beat Harbaugh in the playoffs, beat the Chargers in the playoffs when they were an underdog with no interior offensive line for the entire year. And he took your rookie quarterback, who everybody was like, oh, you've missed out on Bryce Young. You've missed out on Bryce Young to have one of the best rookie quarterback seasons of all time. Obviously now eclipsed by Jaden Daniels and what he's doing. But he's done that, and then his interior offensive line falls apart. They assemble this amazing offense with Diggs, Dell, and Nico Collins all together in one space, and he doesn't get to play around with any of them. Josh Mixon was incredible, and they still had a good run game even without an interior offensive line. Like, what are you doing? Why would you get rid of Bobby Slowick? The only thing I can think of is there's some infighting in the building, and Bobby Slowick was maybe saying, I missed my chance to be a head coach. I've missed my chance to be a head coach. And he was kind of taking that a bit big. Like he was playing a bit big on that. And that's the only thing that I can think of would be the reason to get rid of him, is he's causing some cultural issues in the locker room.
Which would be weird, though, because he's a Shanahan guy, so you've never really heard that from a Shanahan coach, right? Like, yeah. Those guys, McVay, Shanahan, Parcells, I mean, they build a coaching tree of the team is bigger than the individual, so it would be weird. I don't know. I don't know if they felt like they needed a scapegoat for this season, but I don't think they needed one. I don't know if they felt like CJ Stroud was taking too much heat, so if we fire Slowick, we're kind of shielding Stroud from taking that. I don't know what happened, but I think you let a really good offensive mind go for no reason, unless it's exactly what you were talking about, because then if it's becoming a disruption and we don't know about it, which would be a good organization, right, that we didn't hear about it. That's the only thing I can think of, because it doesn't make sense why would you take an offensive mind from the Shanahan tree who's only been 2 years into calling plays, and you have two. Didn't they win a playoff game last year too? So you have 2 playoff games under your belt, but either way, they made the playoffs. So you know what I mean?
They won at least one.
Yeah, like what the fuck are we doing? I'm not sure. And you're going to win it next year. You're going to win your division next year too, because of the division you're in. I did it. It didn't make sense. So maybe that's it. You're the only thing that's making sense to me now that you said it.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I don't understand it whatsoever. I can't see nerdy PFF Bobby Slowick going up against D'Amico Ryan in a way that Ryan couldn't handle immediately either.
D'Amico's the nicest guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they just seem nice. Like, I can't think of any particular. And when have the Texans proved that they're a functional enough organization to keep a lid on that kind of dysfunction in the building? Like, I don't know. I don't think it makes any sense.
Bring him back. They brought back Saleh. Do they bring back Slowick and go, let's make another run at this thing?
Yeah, I think that would be mental. I can't see Slowick. If Slowick goes, I want a head coaching job, I can't see him sitting behind Shanahan to go get his head coaching job. I think he's got to go to a place where it's a defensive head coach and he goes and runs the offense.
See, I don't, because like you have guys like McVay, KOC, and Shanahan were all under offensive coaches, right? Like, and didn't call plays at first. Like, I think you can get there. I mean, if they go win a Super Bowl, I think then Bobby Slowick's right back in the mix of names. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's wild.
Yeah. I just wonder if the Chargers would almost be the perfect place for a Bobby Slowick to go to. Like, if you're the guy that gets Justin Herbert over.
Yeah, but Jim Harbaugh's the offensive coordinator there. So, like, really, does it?
Yeah, like, yeah, I suppose. And then the Jets feels good.
That's why I like that Jets. When you said the Jets, I thought that would have been a good.
Oh, the Lions? That would be it, wouldn't it? That would be it.
Again, you're with another offensive coach, same idea. But yeah, you could go be with Ben Johnson, and you're not going to call plays, but you definitely could help that team.
No. If you go to the Lions, then you take Ben Johnson's
I was thinking the Bears. Sorry, my brain was Bears. Yeah.
Like
Lions. Fuck that. I don't want him with the Lions. Shh.
yeah, I know. But where you sit with Dan Campbell, or the Cowboys would be the one. But Brian Schottenheimer is obviously an offensive coach, but Bobby Slowick is the better offensive mind from what I've seen. I think like any team that gets Bobby Slowick is genius. I think that's a great way. I think the Vikings, like he sits behind KOC. Like KOC is obviously the offensive coordinator. That would be the same as the Kyle Shanahan thing.
I agree with the idea, but I keep wondering when Wes Phillips' name's going to come up for a head coaching job, because he is under he was under McVay and now he's under KOC as the offensive coordinator. I wonder when his name's ever going to keep coming up. But it's weird because there's reports that Flores was the only Vikings coach who was willing to take an interview. So that was weird.
Yeah,
like no Vikings coach wants to leave unless they're getting a head coaching job, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. The last position on the carousel, on the coaching carousel, is the New Orleans Saints. Still yet to make a hire yet. The Darren Rizzi dream is still alive. They might decide that they can't find a better guy than him, which would be insane. Jay, who do you think is going to get that Saints job? Who would you hire?
It's already Mike McCarthy. They're just waiting to get him in there and announce it. And
yeah, I would be surprised if it's not Mike McCarthy. Like, I've seen people throw out like Cliff Kingsbury and stuff like that, but
I don't think Cliff wants it.
No, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't touch this Saints job with a 10-foot fucking barge pole. Like, I wouldn't want this job at all. You have no cap room, no draft capital, and meddling owners. Like, it's just a nothing job. No quarterback. But obviously you've got Derek Carr, who's like okay, but not really a quarterback. Not many weapons to do anything offensively. The defense is okay. The one bonus is it's a pretty weak division. That's the only bonus to the job. All right, so that's our coach.
And your best wide receiver is contemplating retirement because of concussions.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just no way that the Saints is a good job for anyone to have. Jay, that's rounding up the coach carousel review. Now we'll go on to the divisional rounds. Obviously, last weekend's games. And Jay, I thought after the disappointment of Wild Card Weekend, like I know I wasn't on the show for personal reasons because of after Wild Card Weekend, but I found Wild Card Weekend incredibly disappointing. I found it blowouts everywhere, like nothing really particularly close, like no amazing games. I thought the divisional round really lived up, and I thought it was much better. I really enjoyed what we saw. Jay, we've just spoken about the Texans, but they went down to the Chiefs. Jay, it's been all over social media recently. Did the referees hand the Chiefs the win?
No, but they did make two bad roughing the passer fucking calls, or personal foul calls. Those were awful. And Patrick Mahomes tried to flop out of the side of the end zone. I'm glad the refs didn't call that, because that was an off. But people can be mad. The guy who flops the most in the NFL is Josh Allen, and nobody ever wants to bring that up. So can we stop with that? Yeah, these guys are always going to try to get the call, always, because that's 15 yards. But there's got to be a rule change. There's got to
Yeah,
be
it's
a
a
rule
problem with the
change on
rules.
when he was running and he slid. One, you're a fucking running back. What am I supposed to do at that point? Two, none of them even touched his fucking head. Like I think that was my problem with that. Like, and why can't replay review just go like, bro, you got that wrong. Okay, video assist says we got that wrong. Move on, right?
Yeah.
You know, however they want to word it. Like, I don't understand how these old whites are so afraid of technology. I don't get it. And they're like, we need to speed up the game. Use the fucking technology. It'll speed the fucking game up. I don't like
Do you know what slows the fucking game down more than anything?
bad calls.
Adverts.
Oh,
Slow the game
that's where
down
the
more than
money
anything.
comes.
Yeah, I know that's where the fucking money comes, but just as a Brit, like watching American football, the adverts just screw me every time. But the biggest thing, one of the other things that slow the games down is moving the fucking chain. Like, why are we still measuring with a chain in the NFL? Like, there's a technological change that can do that. But even if you wanted to do it manually, the chain is still not the way to do it. Like, it's still a weird way to do that. Like, when have we ever used chains to measure distance? Like, it makes no sense. It's weird. That particular, like, I was on the side of Trevor Lawrence got, like, it looked almost like headhunting on the thing. And then, like, I don't think the guy, with the Trevor Lawrence call earlier in the season, I can see why that was called. And he did make contact with the head and all of that. Patrick Mahomes doesn't slide. He just drops. Like, two guys are coming towards him and he just drops. Like, it's not like a slide. Like, I'm running towards you, but I'm going down 3 yards early. It's shit. Like, and he just like ducks straight out of it. And the two defenders hit off each other's heads more than they hit Patrick Mahomes. And what I do like, and what we have seen from the NFL, the biggest positive of this season, from a refereeing standpoint, is video assist. It's sped up. It's a lot better than all this booth review where the referee has to see it and all of that kind of stuff. No, like, we're getting consistent calls from video assist because it's all coming from New York and it's all happening very quickly. The biggest negative about refereeing is also video assist, and why, once it started working after about week 8, we were like, oh, this is great. This is working really well. Why isn't it being included more? However, the NFL have said QB slides will now be available for video assist next season. Like, they're not going to do it for the championship games, but yeah.
I know Brady suggested starting to penalize the quarterback for sliding too late. I don't think that's the answer. I say if he slides too late, quit calling it. Natural consequences will get these guys to slide earlier, because you made a very good point in the middle of the year. Trevor Lawrence will never slide late again in his life.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence will go an extra yard back now. Like,
Yes.
I think Trevor Lawrence slid early enough where I get why the penalty was called when you read the letter of the rules. But Trevor Lawrence is definitely never going to slide later than that ever again. Like, Trevor Lawrence is going down earlier than that going forward. You obviously, like, there's obviously also this thing of, like, the Chiefs are going on a historic run. Like, you can't hit, like...
Great teams get lucky.
Yeah. They make their own luck. Like, F1 driver Max Verstappen won the world championship this year. I know, different sport that I don't really watch.
Fucking shock.
Sorry, but F1 driver Max Verstappen plays the rules incredibly well. Like, all the best players in rugby, it was the All Blacks. They learn the referee. They do scouting on the referee, learn what the referee says, and, like, plays the dark arts of the game against that referee because they know. And, like, all the greats
did a scouting report on their refs. So
yeah,
I don't understand. But every time you say the All Blacks, I don't know. It's like little racist feeling. I don't know what the fuck that's about. But like
they wear all black.
No, I get it's the name of the team. It just feels like fucking weird when it comes out sometimes, because I don't know. I live in a country though where, like, we're really trying to change names of, like, racist shit. So, like, it not that All Blacks is, but it's in a weird
and
time.
Seas, change the names of seas as well. Make sure Gulfs, all of that kind of stuff as well.
I also think they need to start fucking firing referees or suspending them.
a retiring age for referees, maybe. Like, these guys are old. Like the NFL ownership needs to have a retiring age. NFL referees need to have a retiring age. This is insane. Like, they're getting older and worse as we go through.
This is what I put in my notes. NFL referee Clay Martin should be suspended for all of next year for those two awful, unnecessary roughness calls he called on the Texans. The first one, Anderson hit Mahomes in the chest while throwing the ball. And the second one, Mahomes was a runner and slid at the last second, and there was still no contact to the head or neck. That's what I put down in the middle of the game to not forget to talk about it with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I did almost forget about this while we're talking about that game. It doesn't help that they were missing kicks either. The fucking Texans missing kicks. I don't know what the fuck was going on with them.
Just put a pin in this. Like, the refs were bad. Yes, it didn't really have an effect on the game, on the outcome of the game. Like, really, I think the Chiefs always looked like they were in control of that game. The Texans looked much better than we all thought they were gonna look coming out, but the Chiefs play one-score games and they win in one-score games. So I don't think the refs had a massive effect on the game.
Kalafdis put that game away with 10 minutes left with that sack on C.J. Stroud, too. You can't take that sack right there. Kalafdis put that game away. There were 8 sacks on that game. And that push pisses me off, but I went 3 wins and 1 push last week.
Yeah, we had a good time last week. Last week went well. We did all right after the week before. Jay, the Chiefs also, the other thing about the Chiefs is they just switch it on when it comes to playoff time, and it's incredible how they do it every year. It's the complete opposite of what the Lions have done when we go to talk about the Lions, but they don't worry about winning the regular season. They worry about winning the Super Bowl, and they turn it on in the Super Bowl. What do you in the playoffs? What do you think allows them to do that? What do you think makes them able to do that?
I just think that their whole season is just building their offense, building their defense. And by the time you get there, they've used the whole season to master what they're doing. I don't think it's some magical time where they just go, okay, we're going to start playing now, guys. I just think it's something they build towards all year round. We watched the Patriots do it. How many years did the Patriots win the Super Bowl and they started off the first 6 weeks and we're like, not sure if this is a playoff team, and then all of a sudden they just take off, you know? I think everything their coaches are teaching them is just coming in, every part of the scheme. They're all learning it, every integral part of it. And it just gets better and better as the year goes on. And then they're just fucking clicking. They're a machine at playoff time.
Yeah, they don't use all of their looks to win games in the regular season as well. They don't have to reinvent loads of different ways to call the game because of the way they play in the regular season. They rest players at the right time. They say it's just a regular season game. DeAndre Hopkins, it's just a regular season game. Do you need an extra week for that calf strain? Yep, take it. That's fine. It's just a regular season game. Because the Chiefs also win the games that they're meant to win. Do they win them by as big as Vegas makes the spread? No, but they always win the games that they're meant to win. It's also important to say, like, they also did win the regular season. They only lost 1 game, like, in the regular season. So, yeah, they only lost 2. Sorry, the Broncos. Sorry, their B team lost against the Broncos as well. But yeah, they.
I'm like, my fingers aren't here. Where are my fingers?
Yeah, I was like, what? Why are you showing me? Yeah, Jay, what next for the Texans going into next year? I think they should be happy about this season, but they're clearly not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got to hire an offensive coordinator. I guess that's what's next, which is weird because now C.J. Stroud has to learn a whole new system, which sets back the offense, which, again, is another thing I don't completely understand on what's going on. But offensive line, that's it. Like, you got to go get offensive linemen.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they have to sign Daniil Hunter, too. I think he's up now. I think it was only a 2-year deal. So I think they have to worry about Daniil Hunter now, too.
Yeah, getting those wide receivers healthy, making sure they're rookie defensive players as well. So, like Will Anderson and the linebacker as well and Derek Stingley as well at cornerback, like making sure you get their deals in early so they don't fuck up your cap room, like all of that kind of stuff. because you've got the quarterback. You've got the quarterback on the rookie deal. You need to go one more year. So sign. There's a couple of centers in the draft that are pretty good. I've been looking at centers.
Offensive lineman is deep in this draft.
Yeah.
And defensive lineman is deep in this draft. Also, tight ends, very deep in this draft. So if you're a team that needs that kind, and everybody needs offensive linemen. So this is good for the NFL that we're having a deep lineman class.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the Texans are still in a really good spot. I'm just surprised that they got rid of Slowick. Still strange.
There's going to be some big free agents centers hitting the market too.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, the Lions went up against the Commanders. The Commanders pulled off the upset, coming out on top. We both picked the Commanders for the spread, right? But on the show, I would have picked them like all out. Like
I did say on the show there was a good shot that I believe they could win that game. So
yeah, on the show before when we were doing our like route to the Super Bowl things, I had the Commanders beating the Lions in that game as well, and it just made total sense to me because Jay, did our Dan Campbell prediction come true? Everybody said, "Oh yeah, Dan Campbell's an amazing coach," and we were saying, "Yes, he is," but this is where he's going to cost them. Jay, did it come true?
It did, and that was not only did he let them do that, and he's part of that stupid fucking reverse throw by Jameis. Like, what the fuck are you? Like, and here's the problem: they teach these guys to throw it away if it's not there. No receiver is going to throw the ball away. They get a chance to throw the fucking ball. They get a chance to play quarterback. They're throwing that pass. Why do you call it there? Like, I don't understand that kind of shit. I don't understand Dan Campbell's thinking. Well, we've been aggressive all year. Like, that just, okay. You did a reverse with Amon St. Brown that picked up like fucking 35 yards. That's fancy enough. What are we doing? I don't get what's going. I don't get why they couldn't see that at some point it was going to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, it's actually not a terrible play call built on the reverse that went well for Amon-Ra. It's just the guy throwing the ball just had to get stopped from humping the fucking ground because you're not allowed to make sexual like he shouldn't have even been on the field. He should have been ejected for his celebration by the rules of the game. By the way, like that, the laws of the game are that he should have been
always
ejected.
Try to get rid of people. You always try to eject people.
But I think the NFL doesn't eject enough players. Also, I do think that's
you should have to shoot a guy to get ejected.
I just think it's a fitting punishment. Like some players, just saying, if the punishment is yards against the team, some players might not be that bothered about that. Like the actual physical, personal thing of you are being ejected from this game, I think would stop players. But just by the letter of the law, he shouldn't have been on the field. So what do you get him to do? Also, gambling in the facility, so he's suspended for his first 6 games in the NFL earlier in the year. Doesn't he do a gun celebration as well? So has to pay a massive fine, nearly gets suspended for that as well. Like, doesn't he? He has some sort of like driving.
He's not the most mature guy in the NFL.
That's so. In the drive that we needed to save our season, let's put the ball in his hands to do something he's never done before. It just makes no sense. It's just the most fucking because Ben Johnson's job is to come up with these fucking crazy plays, right? Dan Campbell's job as the head coach should then be, are you sure that's a good idea? Like that should be what he should have been saying on the sideline. And he didn't do it. And it cost them an interception, which then their defense just couldn't stop Jaden Daniels at all, winning the game. But the other part of this, Jay, is they wouldn't have had to draw up that play if they weren't using all of their trick plays to prove a point to the Dallas Cowboys earlier in the season. Like, to prove a point to, like, other teams, like, racking up, like, 50 points against teams. They wouldn't have had to use that trick play because they could have used some of the other ones that they were using earlier on.
I don't know if you noticed this, but one time Skipper comes out on the field and the Commanders double covered him.
Yeah.
They put 2 linebackers on him. They're like, oh, hell no. if this is happening to us. Like, hell fuck no. And they bracketed a lineman with 2 linebackers, and I was like, whoa. But another thing on Ben Johnson is they do this pitch so they do this pitch, and then the receiver shovels it back to Amon, I think, coming up the middle, right?
Yeah.
You know that's a good play when Brady goes. Brady is like, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I have never seen any, and he's going
It's
off, and you're like,
call.
oh, if Tom Brady's never seen this, who has played 20 whatever years in the NFL, right? That was a good play. So they didn't have to outsmart themselves. And that's the problem is they outsmarted themselves, and we kept saying that it was going to happen. Like, it was going to bite them in the ass, and they were going to get too cute, and they did. And it doesn't help that poor Jared Goff, who is now on the internet known as Jared Goof threw a billion interceptions in that game, was a turnover machine.
Yeah.
That was a bad game, and the Commanders played it perfectly. And Jaden Daniels is a machine, and I am really excited for today's game. I am really excited for both these games.
Yeah, I think with Dan Campbell as well, like the thing that I realized really early on last season was the Lions play every game as if they're an underdog. In this game, you're a 7-point favorite. Like you don't have to keep on doing the things that an underdog would do. You can just say, we have the best roster on the pitch. Like their offense is the GM for the Detroit Lions has made an incredible roster that they've got unlucky with injuries on the defensive side of the ball. But that they have probably the best running back tandem in the NFL. They have a top 10 quarterback. They have a top 3 O-line. They have a great wide receiver core that all complement each other. They have a great tight end. They shouldn't be this
Running
need
back.
to like run all of these. Yeah, they shouldn't need to do all of these trick plays. It makes no sense to me at all. And it came back to bite them, as you say. But Jay, this is now Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl with Sean McVay, coughed up a huge lead in the NFC Championship last year, and threw 4 interceptions this year. Can you win the Super Bowl with Jared Goff?
I mean, they could if they didn't shoot. I blame it more on the coaching, and I know there was turnovers and shit, but they still could have won that game by not making 1 or 2 stupid mistakes, even with Goff's turnovers. And so, yeah, they can, but I don't think anymore because I think the Lions window closed when their coordinators left.
Yeah, I agree with that. Depending on their coordinator hires now and how that looks. But Jay, the other thing that people aren't saying is Aaron Glenn goes and gets a great head coaching job, but his defense looked like it ran out of answers in that game. The same stuff that worked for Sam Darnold didn't work when it came to Jaden Daniels.
That was the thing. So they have nobody left. So Glenn was like, we're just going to pressure the fuck out of them and hope we create some turnovers, which isn't the worst idea. But at some point, when Jaden's killing you, you got to go, okay, we got to drop back into zone and see if we can stop this.
Yeah, and full praise to Jaden Daniels for just being immense against the blitz. Like Jaden Daniels against the blitz is an absolute machine because he can run away from the pressure if he wants to. He can throw on the run. But also the big credit to Jaden Daniels is he seems to just diagnose defenses really, really well. Like he does that really well. It's why he's so good on 4th down. And I do also think the Commanders, with the way that Aaron Glenn was pressuring, I do think the Commanders beat the Lions at their own game in terms of going for it on 4th down.
I have some issues with some of those, but yes. The first half one, I didn't like. I didn't like it in the first half. But
there was one in the first half which I thought was strange, but I think you do it because you've got Jaden Daniels back there. Like Jaden Daniels on 4th and 3 and shorter is, I think, a 90% conversion rate on 4th and 3 and shorter with Jaden.
My whole thing was at the beginning of the game, just take the 3 points. It worked out like whatever in the end, but I'm always like, don't chase points in the first half, and definitely don't chase points when you're not losing, right? Like I never understood that. That's weird to me, but in the second half, I like the aggressiveness. I like how they went for it. I just had a problem with the first half call.
Yeah, I think they went for the jugular in the second half, and I think the other part of this as well is Dan Quinn's defense in the Commanders is coming into its own, and they actually dealt with the Lions' offense as well. Like everybody's saying, like, oh, these bad calls, like why have we got this? Like Jared Goff can't do this. It's like, hang on, Dan Quinn does this. Like Dan Quinn did this at the Cowboys. This bend and don't break. We will intercept the ball. We will intercept the ball defense. And I think with Marshawn Lattimore gives them more ability to run man to man, more what Dan Quinn wants to do. So I think they also played well and should be given props for that as well. Jay, what has been the biggest cause for the turnaround in the Commanders organization? Who do we thank, I guess? Who
Josh
should
Harris.
the Commanders fans thank?
Josh Harris.
Yeah, same for me. I thought you were going to say like
No,
Daniel Quinn, maybe Jaden
Getting rid of
Daniels.
it's addition by subtraction by getting rid of Daniel Snyder, which
Yeah,
reports
definitely.
are saying that he hates that they're winning right now, which makes me laugh.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's killing him is what the quote was. But yeah, it's definitely Josh Harrison. Great work there, getting the change. Jay, the Eagles went up against the Rams. The Rams came out with the win in this game. Jay, what was the biggest difference in this game?
You mean the Eagles came out with the win?
The Eagles. The Freudian slip. The Eagles came out with the win. What was the biggest difference in this game?
That they owned them. Like if you look at the little bit of and people are like, Jalen Hurts has to do more. No, he didn't. Why should he have to do more? What did he have? 100 and some yards passing? Good. Like Saquon Barkley had like 250 on the ground. Like, what are you fucking talking about? What do we do? Like, why are we even having this conversation that we're not winning? They're not winning the right way. Like, motherfucker, they've been winning all year and they punch you in your mouth. But I think that defense has a lot to do with it too. Like Carter is a problem.
Yeah.
That dude is a fucking problem unless he's on your team, obviously. But he is a fucking problem.
Yeah, definitely. They actually did this performance without their star rookie cornerback as well. In Quinyon Mitchell wasn't playing. Quinyon Mitchell was injured. So like the defense was incredible. I think obviously for me, I think Saquon Barkley is the biggest difference here. Like the Rams actually outgained them. The Rams actually got more yards than the Eagles, but the Eagles can just grind you down. 205 yards on the ground from Saquon Barkley. Like the defense can play well. Jalen Carter came up with huge plays as well, and a big man like that causing that much destruction in the backfield. Like we're used to seeing DNs do it, but when you get D tackles doing it, like it just completely blows up your defense. But for me, it's Saquon Barkley because every other aspect, if you look at the stats, is very, very similar. And then the rush yards are just the Eagles just take it off the chart, and then that means they limit your decisions. The game did become closer at the end than it needed to be. I thought the Eagles. There was a slight case of they let their foot off the gas at the end of the game, with there being the Rams brought it back within 6 with 2 minutes 50 remaining on the clock, and the Rams had got consecutive stops on the Eagles 2 drives before. It's like, oh, okay, there's still a game here, and then the Rams just didn't see the ball again because of Saquon Barkley.
The Eagles put it away on defense. Like, you know what I mean? The Eagles literally put it away on defense. They let them back in, but they actually stepped up because there was a time in that game where I thought, oh, the Eagles are going to give this game away. And
sorry, I've got that wrong, isn't it? It's the Puka Nacua grab on the sideline, and it's in the fucking snow. Puka Nacua grabs that ball on the sideline, and it's like, how did the Eagles get out with the win from this position? Like from that position, when that happened, it was like, how did the Eagles get out there with the win? So yeah, big game. Puka Nacua was awesome as well. Jay, should the Rams still be feeling happy about the way that this season went? Should they feel good about their season?
Everything I keep reading is that they still want to get rid of fucking Matt Stafford. So I don't know how they should feel.
Yeah, I mean, 2 interceptions in that game from Matthew Stafford. Jalen Hurts plays a clean game in that game. Like that could be seen as the difference.
I just don't understand but for the last 2 years, why you've been trying to move off Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Who are you going to? You're going to go to rehab and pull Stetson Bennett out? Like, what are you doing? Like,
like everyone's like Sam Darnold. Like, I'm sorry, but Sam Darnold, his 2 biggest games of the season, shit the bed. So clearly not the guy that that everybody wants to move on from and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he'll be a starting quarterback, but that $40-50 million a year, not a chance anymore.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl team, someone contending for a Super Bowl. Like, I think the Rams should be very, very happy with their season. I think people thought they might be taking a bit of a step back. Like, with Aaron Donald retiring, they still get around to the divisional game. Their rookies played incredibly well. They've still got Kieran Williams is clearly there was so much talk, especially in the fantasy world, about how he's going to regress loads, and he just didn't at all. Puka Nacua just gets better and better every time I watch him. The offensive line could do with a bit of work, and I do think now they need a succession plan for Stafford, because I do think it is just a matter of time before he completely falls off. And I do think like his particular style of play, like he does take risks where he shouldn't, but he's still not the problem in LA, and he should be playing next year.
Without him, they're not even in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to come on to this, but you already said with this developmental quarterback class, this is the perfect time. The Rams is the perfect position for any of the rookie quarterbacks to go to. Under Sean McVay, with Matt Stafford in front of you, and the weapons that they're going to have, perfect place for them to go to. So I think the Rams should be happy.
There's 4 or 5 guys in this draft that I literally think could end up someday being starting NFL quarterbacks that will not go in the top rounds.
Yeah, I think it really makes a case for the NFL still needing a developmental league, like the Jaden Daniels case. Like Jaden Daniels, this quarterback draft, like last year's quarterback draft, with Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, all coming into the league, all looking like starting quarterbacks immediately because they've had those extra years in college. I'm like, oh my God, more development at a younger age before you get put into the limelight.
NBA Europe that's coming?
Yeah, NBA Europe. Or like just a G League, like that kind of fucking thing would make loads of sense.
Not David Stern, who took over him? Adam Silver said NBA Europe's coming, and their plan is to overtake the Euro leagues. So
he's invited all of the Euro League teams to come and play in it. Like so Real Madrid can still have their team in NBA Europe and stuff like that. Like they don't have to be called like the Madrid Stars or anything like that. They can be called Real Madrid and all of that kind of thing. So hopefully there's a Lithuanian team in the Euro League. Maybe Latvia will get a team. The Riga, I don't know. Anyway, Jay, the Bills went up against the Ravens. This was probably the pick of the games. Like I love the Commanders versus Lions game because of the result, but in terms of like the best game, you are very fuzzy. The Bills versus the Ravens. Jay, did the Ravens throw this game away?
I don't know if they threw the game away. Like the Bills played really good. I think the Bills caused a lot of the issues that the Ravens were having. The only argument I have is why didn't you give the ball more to Derrick Henry, because it was working.
Yeah. For me, it was the Bills played an excellent first half. The Bills played a really, really great first half. And then the Ravens made the adjustment. The Ravens had made the adjustment. The Bills couldn't stop them. The Bills couldn't stop them in the second half. They couldn't really stop them at the end of the first half either. The Ravens could no longer stop them. Why then did they not come out with the win? Because they outgained the Bills as well. And the answer is a turnover from Lamar Jackson, throwing the ball, a fumble from Lamar Jackson, which was an awkward snap in rough conditions and things like that as well. And a fumble from Mark Andrews as well. There's obviously that 2-point play to tie the game where Mark Andrews drops the ball as well. I think Ravens' mistakes cost them this win. If they played a clean game, the Bills couldn't stop them. And the Ravens had found answers for the Bills' offense as well. So the Ravens' defense had found the answers, and the Ravens' offense couldn't be stopped. Like, I have no idea why the Ravens didn't just continue that gameplay. Like, why did they move away from playing that game and like the mistakes that came over from there? And it does bring on questions on the Baltimore Ravens and are they an organization that is ready to make that next step? Obviously, last year they had the opportunity to put the Chiefs away, but Zay Flowers fumbles the ball across the goal line as well, and they have that ability to put the game away, and they don't then. Like, can the Ravens get over the line with the way that they play football? Can the Ravens get onto the next level? I feel like they were the ones who made the mistakes in this game. Jay, you've recovered. You're not fuzzy anymore, so that's good.
I guess so. I mean, Mark Andrews is part of the reason they lost that game. If we're going to blame anybody, okay, but that kind of shit happens, and it just happened at the worst possible time. It's a 2-point conversion that you're like, oh fuck, how did you not get that?
Yeah.
Like the other drops, you were like, damn, but that one, you're like,
what a fumble.
Can people stop acting like that we're guaranteed that the Ravens were going to win if they get that 2-point conversion too? Like Josh Allen doesn't have a chance to drive him down the field and kick the game-winning field goal. Like I think people forget that part of the whole game.
Yeah, definitely. I just think the Ravens defense had found answers for the Bills offense, and the Bills defense couldn't stop the Ravens offense. They couldn't stop them. The only thing that stopped them in the second half was a Mark Andrews fumble and a Mark Andrews drop. That's what happens in there. And then in the first half, it's a Lamar Jackson turnover and a Lamar Jackson drop. And the year before, Jay, in the AFC Championship game, Zay Flowers fumbles over the goal line as well. Like, is this a Ravens can't get over that bump? Are they beating themselves? And Jay, is there such a thing as playoff Lamar?
Lamar played good. Like, I don't understand the shit Lamar's getting. Lamar played good. What more do you want from him?
Yeah.
I mean, he hit Mark Andrews right in the fucking chest. People are gonna be like, it was a bad throw. He had to turn around. Like, bro, third string tight ends in the NFL catch that. It's just one of those odd things that.
It's also the design of that throw.
Huh?
It's also the design of that throw. That's where the ball's meant to go there. Like, the ball is meant to, like, when you have big body tight end against small cornerback, you put it at his body, which is slightly behind him. Like, you don't hang him out here where the cornerback can get it. You say, all right, hold this with your massive weight advantage to the cornerback. Like, it's exactly where that ball should have gone. Lamar Jackson makes two really glaring mistakes in that game. And it's this fulfilling fantasy of, it's the same with the Cowboys. Like, every year the Cowboys get to the playoffs, it's been 28 years since the Cowboys made it to an NFC Championship game, which means the next year they don't do it. It's 29 years that they don't. It's going to be 30 years that they don't make it. And it's like the pressure just builds and builds and builds. So the more Lamar doesn't get over the hump here, the more it builds and builds and builds. And the question is, does it just build and build and build in the media? Does it actually get to Lamar? I think Lamar made a really poor interception throw against a really good defense that had planned a great defensive system in the first half. And then the fumble in those conditions, I'm not giving him a pass on the fumble. I think the fumble was shit. He should have dropped on the ball as well. Like, there's no way that fumble should have been recovered by anybody else than Lamar. It was him trying to make a big play. Like, both plays were terrible. I think he makes those in the regular season as well. I don't think it's a playoff. But I do think there's an essence of saying playoff Ravens, and that is under Harbaugh. Do you think Harbaugh should still be the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens?
It's hard to say a guy should be fired after this much winning, but maybe it is time to look at just a different view for everybody, right? Maybe it's time to go a different way. I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to a guy who wins the division all the time, gets his team to the playoffs all the time. They're always getting wins in the playoffs. It's not like they're not winning games. So it's hard to ask for that guy's job. But at some point, do you need a different voice to get over the hump? is it the John Gruden going in for Tony Dungy kind of thing to get Tampa over the hump, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same thing with Mike Tomlin, isn't it? Where it's like, but Mike Tomlin doesn't have as good a roster as
And
Harbaugh has. But
Mike Tomlin's been to 2 Super Bowls too. There's a that.
yeah, there is that as well.
I mean,
think
Harbaugh's been to Super Bowls too, though. So
yeah, I think with Harbaugh, it's amazing how those two teams in the same division kind of mirror each other. I think with Harbaugh, I wouldn't have sacked him after this season. I think that game, the AFC Championship game, they lose to the Chiefs, who might be about to three-peat. This game they lose to the Bills. The Bills has the other MVP candidate on the other side of the field and stuff like that. So I don't think I fire him after this round, but I do think if they don't make it again, because then the Super Bowl window starts to shut. Well, there's going to be something that happens to Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry is eventually going to fall off. Mark Andrews is eventually going to have to retire. Like there's going to be stuff that happens that the team gets old and the Super Bowl window shuts.
And I think we can all just guarantee that Josh Allen is the MVP because he's not a finalist for Offensive Player of the Year. He's a finalist for MVP, but not Offensive Player of the Year. So we can pretty much guarantee that he won the MVP.
That voting system just blows my mind. Jay, moving on now to the previews of the games today. The NFC Championship game will be kicking us off. The Eagles are 6-point favorites against the Commanders. Jay, has the Commanders' defense been unlocked in the past couple of weeks?
It's better, and it's getting better every week, and they know their limitations, and they know they're going to give up big plays, so they don't freak out when they do. They know they're going to give up some points, so they don't freak out when they do. That's kind of a big thing for them, and we're going to see. I don't know what the game plan is, but if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm putting Lattimore on A.J. Brown all game, and I'm bracketing fucking Smith. I'm putting everybody in the box and going, somebody other than you three, Barkley and your 2 receivers are beating me. And let's see if it's Jalen Hurts, if it's your tight ends, whoever, but somebody else, but you 3 guys are beating me.
Yeah, I think with Lattimore as well, like him coming into the team allows them to play more man-to-man, which is Dan Quinn's system. He plays man-to-man, 1 safety over the top, which also frees up a person to drop into the box as well, and another person to drop into the box to deal with Saquon Barkley.
Right, and you can keep the 8 in the box and double Smith by just jamming Smith on the line and then letting him go to the next, because you already threw off the rhythm. So now I jam Smith off the line, screw up the whole rhythm, let the other corner take him, and now I'm still in the box for Saquon. I can do both as a linebacker, a safety, whatever, you know.
Yeah, and you have the safety cover over the top still as well for whatever goes on there. So I agree with you, and I think the Commanders' defense has been unlocked. I think it's a bit of a tired narrative to say that the Commanders' defense is not very good. They're clearly good because everybody's saying they're the only one that don't have a top 10 defense, and no Super Bowl has ever been won without a top 10 defense outside of the ones that have with Patrick Mahomes when he was winning with the Kansas City Chiefs, but never let the truth get in the way of a good narrative or anything like that. But they have got a lot better in the past couple of weeks as well. Now, do I think that they can stop the Eagles? I guess we'll see. But Jay, the Commanders have got injuries on O-line. Sam Cosmi is out now. Do you think they're able to stop the Eagles' D-line? I think this is where the game
scares me. Because, again, Carter is a monster. And the injury scares me. But maybe Jaden's athletic enough to move around and get it done. This is that injury is probably the only, the one thing that keeps me wavering back and forth on this pick.
Yeah, I think with Cosmi, so the fact that the Commanders are where they are when Cosmi is their best offensive lineman, because he's not like this absolutely unbelievable offensive lineman either, is also a testament to their offensive build. And I do think it might be a problem. The last time they met, Jaden Daniels threw for 5 touchdowns and the Commanders' offensive line was still bad. Like the Commanders haven't got a good offensive line. So Sam Cosmi out does make a difference. But Sam Cosmi, you wouldn't feel comfortable with him if he was starting on a lot of teams in this league. Like if he was the left tackle for a lot of teams in this league, Sam Cosmi wouldn't make a difference if he was there or not.
Again,
so
that's something you can help, you can chip, you can push somebody over there. So, yeah.
And Jaden Daniels is the perfect quarterback to deal with that as well. Now, do I think that Vic Fangio is going to send a shit ton of pressure that way and just line Jalen Carter over the top of whoever's starting there? You
got to start playing Jaden Daniels like you play Jared Goff. You can't blitz them. Jared Goff will kill you in the blitz. Jaden Daniels has proven he will kill you in the blitz. You got to be careful when you blitz. If Fangio sends too much pressure, I think he's handing points.
Yeah, but there's ways that you can pressure without overcommitting to the blitz. Like a delayed linebacker blitz on you should really have a spy for Jaden Daniels anyway. So delayed linebacker blitz might be the way to go. But also the Eagles should be able to get pressure with 4, especially if they send 2 down that channel where Cosmi would usually be. You can send people down that channel, a few stunts to confuse them out there as well. I guess also this comes to a point of how do you stop Jaden Daniels and the Commanders' offense with that Cliff Kingsbury's built? As you messaged me last week, the number 2 is now a serious number 2 wide receiver as well.
Brown. Yeah, Brown is playing. Brown is playing. Fuck. That dude looked amazing in the playoffs. I love what he's doing. Scary Terry is fucking amazing. Just watch that catch down the sideline. It's like, holy fuck. Okay. They have a lot of weapons. Jaden Daniels is the key to this game, though, right? We're going to get steady, not great production from the running backs. We're going to get production from the receivers. We already know the offensive line issues they've been dealing with all year. So it's going to come down to Jaden Daniels and on the offense, and then can the defense make a couple stops for them against Saquon. And you can't let Saquon – you almost – as crazy as it sounds, you almost have to be we got to keep Saquon under 150.
Well, they kept him to 150 the last time that they played. They actually, in the last 3 quarters of football that the Commanders have played against the Eagles, I got this fact from listening to PFF, so sorry if I misquoted, someone tell me, but from the last 3 quarters that they've played against the Eagles, Saquon Barkley has only run for 2 yards a carry. Because in the first quarter of that game, he ran for 100 yards. And then in the next 3 quarters, he only ran for 50. So they seem to have found a way to stop him. And I think the way that the Commanders stopped him he ran for 150 yards, but stopped him in that game is you have to front him up and you have to hit your gaps and you have to just hope that nobody misses an assignment. Because if one person misses an assignment, if you're crashing the line and one person misses an assignment, Saquon Barkley takes it to the house. That's what happens. You just have to hope that no one misses an assignment. And easier said than done, no one misses a tackle on Saquon Barkley as well. But that's what they're going to do. That's what the Commanders defense is going to do, right? That's their game, is to keep Saquon under 150 by crashing the line and hope he doesn't make a big play through someone missing an assignment somewhere.
And it's amazing on how good they've been, because they get credit for having a really good running game, the Commanders, but they don't. They don't have a really good running game. Jaden Daniels helps make that a better running game. I mean, Austin Eckler's good. Robinson's good. Nobody's great. Nobody but Jaden Daniels is, you know what I mean, blowing the defense up with their running. But because of Jaden Daniels, they end up having great rushing numbers, which makes the defense have to stay honest. So, yeah, there's Jaden Daniels makes up for a lot of problems over there.
Robinson hasn't gone over 70 yards in the second half of the season. Like everybody's like I remember we had a huge fantasy trading war where people were trading over trying to get Brian Robinson, and
And you
whoever won
remember
that
who had
trade,
Austin Eckler just sitting in the background, like, yep,
I know.
we're just gonna sit here with Austin Eckler, and
but yeah, whoever got Brian Robinson on that trade probably lost the trade in the end, because in the second half of the season he just disappeared, and it's not largely down to Brian Robinson. Like, that is just around how talented he is. Like, that is the running back that he is, and they've just got Jaden Daniels there, who, as you say, keeps them totally honest. Jay, something that we haven't mentioned in this game before we move on to the AFC Championship, our picks, and then the AFC Championship game is Jalen Hurts is injured. Jalen Hurts is playing, but with a knee brace. How much of a difference does that make in this game?
Well, it hurts. If he's not right, it hurts them when he scrambles and runs. Any of the, like, do you have to, like, not call those running plays that you would normally call for him? But where I wonder, because we did see this last week, does it hurt them with the tush push? Because we saw it last week. They weren't running it because of the injury. So does it hurt them? That's their bread and butter. Like, if they're 3rd and goal on the 1 and you can't tush push, now the team's got to feel excited and energized, right? Like, you almost got to give the defense hope. As crazy as it sounds, you're like, fuck, good. We're only going against Saquon Barkley. We don't have to try to defend this tush push, right? So it's crazy to think that, because they're 2 yards out. I'm tush pushing in until I get there. You know what I mean with them?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the one thing I think that knee injury might really hurt them.
I can't believe they haven't developed a Saquon tush push by now. Like, surely
Maybe
Saquon
they did work on something, because the Ravens do it with Mark Andrews because they don't want to hurt Lamar. So maybe they did come up with something in the week of, hey, you're going to take
so
this.
surprised that they haven't got a Saquon tush push. But also, just to add,
thing is, not a lot of people who squat 600 pounds. Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds. That's why. That's why not only the offensive line, but that's also why the brotherly shove works so well, because that motherfucker's legs are this big.
Yeah, and it's can he squat 600 pounds with a knee brace on is the thing. The other thing is, like, does it affect his throwing motion as we do this as well? Look, Jalen Hurts isn't going to win this game throwing the ball. I don't think. Like, I don't think that's the game plan that they're going to go for. Jalen Hurts is good enough to win a game throwing the ball. I don't think that's the game plan they'll go for. I think they'll aim to throw around 200 yards and win the game off the back of Saquon Barkley. Like, that's what they'll try and do. It doesn't mean that they won't do it. So I don't think it affects his throwing too much, but the run game. But what could happen is the Commanders will be coming in saying, Jalen has a big knee brace on his leg. Are we going to prepare for Jalen Hurts to run the ball? If he's good to go, and it is the NFC Championship game, if you can run it early. Like, if you can run as your Jalen Hurts, run it early, because the Commanders won't be expecting that. So wait to see that. Another problem for the Eagles is Cam Jurgens is questionable. We'll obviously find out in 25 minutes if he's playing. But Cam Jurgens is questionable, but Landon Dickinson's been taking the snaps anyway. But Jurgens is questionable with back pain, which means he's not going to be right for the game, but our offensive linemen are the right either. And I think Landon Dickinson just comes in and steps in at center, and there shouldn't be a drop-off at center.
I don't think there would be a drop-off, and I also think they're going to give him a shot of vitamin T and Toradol, and he's going to be out there not feeling a thing until about the 4th quarter, and then your adrenaline will be so high if that game is close that it will be tomorrow that this guy wants to shoot himself in the head because his back hurts so bad.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think offensive linemen are never okay. From basically when they step into the league to when they retire, and they're still probably not okay after they retire.
No, I mean, Mark Schlereth lost a fuck ton of weight because he said his body couldn't handle it. I think if you're an offensive lineman, if you don't lose the weight, your rest of your life is going to be rough. I think that's one of the things you definitely have to do for your body when you get out of the NFL is you can't walk around at 300 pounds anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, the Eagles are 6-point favorites in this game. Who have you got?
Give me the Commanders -6. I did actually border on taking the money line.
Give me the Commanders -6. Give me the Commanders -6 as well.
Yeah, but I think the Commanders could win this game.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just going to stay safe and take the 6. And in all, I want to be complete transparency. So my wife's sister came to visit yesterday. We all go out to eat, blah, blah, blah. My wife goes to the casino and took my ass, I didn't know what she was up to, but before when we were at dinner, they're like, who do you think's going to win tomorrow? Like, what teams are playing? So there is a bet on the Commanders at -6 for me.
Guys,
Sandy did it at the casino, and she put $100 on the Commanders. So we'll see what happens.
Next year, I think I'm going to go through the season and take a tally of the winnings that I have, like, through the season. But, like, not do anything ridiculous, like £10 a week or something like that.
Right, but Sandy was just at the casino, and she doesn't really gamble with her sister. So she's like, and she's always said she's wanted to follow my picks to see what we would win. And I always tell her, once you bet, you don't win anymore. So, like, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There's actual real money for me on this game.
Jay, the AFC Championship with two of the Chiefs are going for. Sorry, I'm going to start that again. Jay, the AFC Championship where the Chiefs are going for 3 in a row, and the Bills are looking to win their first Super Bowl in franchise history. Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites. Jay, can the Bills handle their cluster injuries in the secondary? Taylor Rapp is out. Christian Benford's questionable. Tyron Johnson was limited through the week after having to put his arm back into his socket. And Damar Hamlin has a rib injury, but is playing, but was limited throughout the week as well.
Well, their defense has never been that great this year. So maybe, but here's the thing. I'm going through this weird thing. Everything in my head says the Chiefs. Everything in my gut says the Bills, so I don't know what to think even still right now before we make these picks.
Yeah, I think with me here, I think those injuries just made the Bills even weaker over the middle with the injuries, and the Chiefs will just attack the middle, like, of that secondary. They're just going to go right down the throat of that secondary in the middle. Travis Kelce is going to have a big breakout game for me. DeAndre Hopkins coming over the middle is pretty impressive as well. To be honest, I think that this line is disrespectful to the Chiefs. The Chiefs normally at home is a 3-point benefit as well. I think 1.5 points to me says that Vegas think that the Bills are better than the Chiefs.
They do.
Yeah. Like,
you do realize though, minus the playoffs, Josh Allen is 4-1 versus Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, but then in the playoffs, he hasn't won a game against Patrick Mahomes. Like,
pretty much nobody has. That's kind of like,
yeah,
and
definitely.
At some point, you're like, is it going to happen? Like, I'm just saying. I think what Vegas is saying is, Josh Allen. I think at some points Vegas thinks Josh Allen is as good or better than Patrick Mahomes. Before you crush me, I don't think that, but I think that's what Vegas thinks. But
yeah. I think the other side of this coin is the Chiefs have come into this week saying, we have no one on injury report. This is the healthiest the team has been all year, like coming into this game as well. Like, the Chiefs were down a few players when they played earlier in the season. The Bills were totally healthy, had all of their players available earlier in the season, and the Bills won in a close game. I think this is a totally different game. I think the pressure's different, and I think that Chiefs defense is going to cause Josh Allen some problems as well. So, full disclosure, I'm taking the Chiefs in this one as well.
I'm going to take the Chiefs while I'm cheering for the Bills, but my cheering for the Bills has nothing to do with me liking them. It is my pure pettiness. I want them to go to the Super Bowl and lose their 5th. I want them to be the Vikings only team in NFL history with 5 Super Bowl losses.
Jay, with Josh Allen, do you think he can keep the lid on the mistakes? Because he's done it all year. So he's been amazing at making less mistakes all year, far less turnovers. Do you think he can keep a lid on these mistakes?
Yeah, he's played great. He's played great. And like I said, I know some people were saying he's playing hero ball. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think that Josh Allen has been playing within the system, which is making him even better than he was when he was playing hero ball. I think this is the best we've seen of Josh Allen since he came into the league.
Yeah, I think we also need to come off this idea, like just as media and people doing podcasts and stuff in general, of the Bills don't have any weapons. Like, well, no, just because they don't have Stephon Diggs doesn't mean they don't have any weapons. James Cook looks the best that he's ever looked. James Cook is their best running back that they've had since Josh Allen's got there, and the way he's playing is amazing. The offensive line has looked really good as well, although Deion Dawkins is also on the injury report as well, at left tackle. Keon Coleman, like everyone's like, oh, well, they don't have any big names. No, because they've built it on rookies. Keon Coleman, amazing. Shakir, not a rookie, but not a well-known name. His yards after the catch, unbelievable. And Amari Cooper hasn't been playing loads, like at all, hasn't made any big plays. But last week he made 2 catches that got them first downs on third down. Like, that's where Amari Cooper comes in and plays really well. So this idea that the Bills don't have any weapons, I think is just totally wrong.
No, I agree with you. We've been talking about it all year. Nobody wants to give any credit to the receiving core of the Bills. James Cook's been playing great. I really like what the Bills have been doing. Now, it's their defense, but I think the Bills win by scoring a bunch anyway. I don't think that their idea is we're going to come punch you in the mouth, hold you to 9 points, and win the game. I don't think that's Bills thinking. I think the Bills are like, we're going to score 35 and we're going to beat you.
Yeah, I don't see them doing this against the Chiefs defense. Like, that defense for me is still, I don't know how a defense can go 15-1, winning 1-score games. The offense hasn't scored 31 points or over 31 points all year. Like, and they don't get more credit. Like, this defensive line is the most underrated in the league with George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis is one of the best young DNs in the league. Chris Jones is one of the best D tackles in the league. And I can't remember the name of the other DN, but he plays incredibly as well. You then have Trent McDuffie out there as well, who can take anyone on an island on the corner. I don't see the Bills doing it against this Chiefs defense. What have you made of the Chiefs defense this year?
I love the Chiefs defense. I actually think they were a little better last year. I think Snead made them better, but I don't think they fell off a shitload. And I like what the Chiefs defense is doing. I think people just like have a hard time wrapping their head around the way the Chiefs are playing this year, because the Chiefs change how they play due to the personnel they have. There's a wild fucking concept. Yep, there's a wild concept. I think Hollywood Brown being there now too is something, because even if he doesn't have like the great chemistry with Mahomes, like, you still have to worry about it because he's fast and Mahomes can throw the ball. So you still have to put some on him. But I like how the Chiefs are playing, but they're deep. I think their MVP of the defense is Steve Spagnuolo. I think Spags is the MVP of that defense. And that's not a takeaway from Chris Jones, who is fucking the best D tackle in the NFL. You know what I mean? McDuffie, who I really wanted the Vikings to draft back when he was in the draft. So, yeah, I like what they're doing. I love their safety play. Their safety play is underrated. But I also think Josh Allen is a guy who fucks everything up as soon as he moves. And that's where he puts the pressure on the defense. So that's what we need to see, is how the defense reacts when the play is totally off script.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, the Chiefs are 1.5 point favorites in this game. Who have you got?
We're both taking the Chiefs. I'm cheering for the Bills because I want the Bills to lose 5 Super Bowls. But I'm also not against greatness. So if the Chiefs win, good for you, and go get that 3rd ring in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the Eagles are the only team in out of the 4 that are left that it doesn't make like an all-time story if the Eagles win. Like, still a good story. Like, you've won a Super Bowl.
Sirianni's fault for not letting Saquon get that rushing title, because it would have jumped the story up to the historic season of the Eagles, and can they cap it off? And yes,
exactly, because it's the game. They're not going to make a Football Life documentary about this season if the Eagles win, but the Chiefs, it's a three-peat. The Bills, they win the Super Bowl after losing their 4 previous visits, and the Commanders haven't gone to an NFC Championship game for like nearly 30 years, and Jaden Daniels would be the first rookie quarterback to win a Super Bowl as well. So, the Eagles are the only team where it's not a great story, but still like good story, like good for the Eagles organization. Maybe it would add to the story of Howie Roseman's Hall of Fame gold jacket. Maybe that's the story wherever they get this second Super Bowl here. All right, Jay. We've only got 2 games to choose from for our best bet this week. Out of the 2 that we've got, Commanders at Commanders at +6, Chiefs at -1.5. What's going to be your best bet of this week?
I am more convinced that the Commanders have a chance to win this game. So I like the -6 than I do on either other team. And I know you're more bullish on the Chiefs than I am in this game. I think that Bills-Chiefs game is a pick'em game. So my game of the week is Eagles, Commanders. Commanders -6 is my pick of the week.
Yeah, I quite like both of these bets. I could see the Eagles breaking it off against the Commanders. I could see it all kind of coming crashing down against the Commanders. I can't see that happening with the Chiefs. I can't see that happening with the Chiefs and the Bills. But I think it's going to be.
You don't think you could see either one of those teams get beat by double digits, by 10?
The Chiefs or the Bills? No, probably not. Like, if it was going to be a team that would do that, I think it would be the Bills. Like, because Josh Allen throws 5 interceptions and becomes Josh Allen from last year. That's what I think would be the most likely way for that to happen.
It's funny, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I pictured in my head is Josh Allen throwing 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
upsetting the Chiefs by 10. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it will happen either. So it's just funny how we both kind of looked at Josh Allen, but we looked at it differently.
I think I could see Josh Allen throwing for 5 touchdowns, but I could then also see if Josh Allen throws for 5 touchdowns, I can't then not see Patrick Mahomes throwing for at least 4. You know, like if we're going there as well. So I'm going to take the Chiefs at 1.5 in this one for my best bet as well, which is great because it means that one of us is going to win. So then we just don't have to say anything about anyone else. We're a cooperative podcast, so it's all fine. Jay, about an hour and 10 minutes until kickoff here. I hope you all enjoy the NFC Championship game and both NFL Championship games. Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, like the man said, hour and 10 minutes to go get your food, your drinks, with your smoke, whatever you get, whatever you need for football, you go lock it in. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out MMA Underground, which is now switching to Wednesdays, guys. Buddy V's job switched around, so we had to switch days and times. So I believe that is Wednesdays at, I believe it'll be 7 Pacific or 5 Pacific, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. So make sure you go check that out. But if you have the notifications hit, what I said doesn't matter because it'll just let you know. So just hit the like and subscribe, the notifications. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.